What is up, everyone? I'm going to check the comments this time to make sure that I'm not on mute and you guys can actually hear me. Unlike last time, it's been a little while since I've streamed. My family and I went on a fun vacation out to the Great Smoky Mountains out in Tennessee. Unfortunately, the timing of it happened to coincide with New York Comic Con and all of the festivities that went on there, so I missed out and got a ton of FOMO seeing all the videos and the pictures of everyone meeting each other. But let me back up. Welcome to the Doctor of Stuff channel. I'm your host, Doctor of Stuff, but you can call me Doc. Anything I say here should not be taken as financial advice. I have a background in crypto and stock trading and financial analysis, and I'm just here to offer my views on mainly VeVe and NFTs, but then also the wider crypto market when things come up. So thank you all for being here so far. Shout out to everyone who's here. I love I love the people that comment early on before the show even starts, where they're saying that they're the first ones there. So shout out to you, Bill, with the first like. Obviously, yes, if you haven't, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me grow, get my thoughts out to a wider audience. And the whole purpose that I do this channel is really to provide another point of view as someone who's been in these markets for a while now. Crypto for 2.5 years, but for stock trading for quite some time, and investing for quite some time, and then just the finance industry in general for 15 years. So been at it for a while. But look, let's get into the title, or the main purpose of this talk is really to talk about New York Comic Con and the partnerships and the things that VeVe announced there, but then also really focus on this VeVe Marvel Funko drop and what happened there, right? So I don't know. First of all, it was US only, but let's give it a little bit of a background. So VeVe announces that they're going to be doing this drop, and VeVe fam, including myself, we go pretty wild for it. We're pumped to see such a big partnership, and the first true like physical partnership with VeVe, right? And Funko is a big name brand. They're big. There's a lot of, there's Funko YouTube channels that have substantial following. So it's a big deal in the collectible space. And so for VeVe as a digital collectible to partner with physical collectible company like that, I was really excited about it. And I don't know if you guys saw, but and I have to shout out these YouTube creators, Chris and Heather with Gasolcast. They are big Funko. Their channel is Funko mainly, and so they saw this Iron Man Funko and they called it trash, basically, right? And there were some reasons for it. So typically your Funko Pops go for like $10 to $40. So $150 Funko is extremely highly priced. Yeah. And even the Funko Golds. So the Funko Gold, which is what Marvel and VeVe partnered with Funko, that's that 18-inch style, right? So the Pop style is when they have those bigger heads and the smaller bodies. So this Gold style is going to be the more proportional to just how I guess a human looks. So they didn't like it. They didn't like it at all. They thought 18 inches was massive, which it is pretty massive for this. And so they weren't too stoked on it and did not believe that it was gonna sell out based on the Funko community and their likes. So what happened though is the VeVe community caught this video and they jumped on it and they're like, hey, everyone comment on there, and they started making all these comments in that video talking about VeVe. And Gasolcast, Chris and Heather, they were kind of overwhelmed, and they made a second video about it. And I'll talk a little bit more, but they were shocked at how strong the VeVe community was. I think Chris called us ravenous, which was great, but they were excited because they got a lot more subscribers and a lot of people, and there was this discussion back and forth. And yeah, in that first video, basically they thought the Iron Man was ugly, and that Funko Golds, they're just not popular within the Funko community. So it was interesting that VeVe and Funko and Marvel, they all picked this Funko Gold style as opposed to the pop style, which is what I'm more accustomed to as well. The other thing that happened is Marvel, as part of this whole thing, they released a video about this, a 14-minute video, right, about VeVe on their main channel that has 20.2 million subscribers. It's a 14-minute video, talked all about VeVe and then this Funko VeVe Marvel collab, the unveiling of this Iron Man. And out of the 20.2 million subscribers that they had, the video got to date has about 10,000 views. There's only 52 comments, with the majority of those comments being the VeVe fam again. And I kind of read through them just to see, okay, are people still hating on NFTs because it's an NFT, or are they open to it? And although the majority of the comments were from the VeVe fam, there was a mixture, and it was kind of cool to see a mixture of people who were saying, hey, you know what? If Marvel is okay with NFTs, maybe I should look more into it. Like maybe NFTs are okay. Then there were other people who were just like, oh my gosh, NFT, I'm out. This is a scam type thing. But thought that was really interesting to see that. Yeah, 22.2 million subscribers, but 10,000 views. Now, what I didn't do is look at other videos that Marvel has put out recently and kind of see what those what the views are on that. So, and I'll have to check that out real quick. But yeah. Shout out to you, SoCal, homie. Yes, gently caress. Look, I get my little banner here that I have: smash, push, crush, or gently caress the like, subscribe, and all notifications button. But I would like to hear in the comments what you guys thought about this drop. So let's fast forward to the drop, right? So I'm excited. I'm there. I'm waiting. I've gotten a couple people who reached out to me and said, hey, you're US based. I'm not, because this was a US based only drop. I imagine it's more because of shipping and the shipping hassles of potentially shipping through customs and all that jazz, that they're just like, we're just going to make that US only. But there's a lot of VeVe fam outside the US that really wanted this and didn't have access to it. And I'm sure some of them tried with VPNs. I don't know if they were successful. So what happens on the drop? I get on the page. I've got my whole account set up, which I set up an account with Funko specifically for this. So that's already worked. This is the first time that I've bought on their website. I have bought some Funkos in the past. So, but yeah, the first time on site. So that right there, that partnership is showing that it did get additional, at least myself, which is anecdotal, evidence of additional people who had not collected or purchased from their website, bringing traffic to that website, which is great for Funko. And look, I bought my two. I was really excited, and bam, it said that it was sold out within a couple minutes. And I was like, that's phenomenal, especially since some of these Funko YouTubers were saying, like, there's no way this sells out. Like, no one's buying this. It's overpriced. It's tied to NFTs. It's not going to happen. And so we saw all these posts, right, on VeVe. Basically, it's sold out. Congratulations, VeVe. 500,000. Funko's got to be stoked. Everyone's excited and celebrating. And then we see these tweets coming out saying, wait a second. Oh, it's back in stock. Like, what happened? And like, yeah, it unsold out. And I had to think about that for a second. And I'd started to see, and this is where I want to go with this, a couple things, is I started to see all these comments calling out the people who tweeted and being like, oh, you were celebrating, ha ha ha, I didn't really sell out, and you're a fool for getting excited about this or jumping on it too early. I mean, look, as someone who's never been on one of these sites before, I didn't know if that was typical. We thought it was sold out. So I can't fault anyone for celebrating or commenting and saying, hey, congratulations on the sellout. And then, yep, there was some back in stock. But what I started to see happen is that there had been people who were like, oh, I bought 10. And what I've learned is that Funko basically manually reviews these orders. And so it's 2 per household. So if someone ordered 10, because you could actually do that. And I don't know why they allowed that, but like you could have bought two and then gone back and tried to buy another two, and the purchase would have gone through. And so on their site, it would have reserved those Funkos. But then as they manually reviewed that, they'd have been like, this isn't eligible. We're kicking it back out. And so I think that that's what happened is they started to kick back all of these ones that had been sold, but then didn't meet the criteria or were in violation of that criteria, and they got kicked back. You got Wes here saying that the 18 inches is way too big, and it might be. You know what? I've got some, like they're coming. We'll see, because it's gonna be up there, and maybe it'll be massive. And I don't care. Like I'm excited. I like it's more historical for me. I do wish, like the Gasolcast video had talked about, that it was the actual Iron Man helmet instead of Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. face. I just like that Iron Man helmet. I think that would have been even cooler. But yeah, you've got some people here who didn't like it, right? Mediocre Funko Fidgetal that sold out because VeVe Wells went hard on it. Now you say VeVe Wells, like I said, now VeVe Wells could have reached out to multiple people, and multiple people could have bought two at a time to do that, but they couldn't buy on one account. They could only buy two, and I think that that's why it then unsold out. But I don't know if you guys have seen this, and let's show it to you real quick, right? But pull this up. It is now sold out, and people have reached out to VeVe and verified that this actually has now sold out. So within 36 hours or so, around there, this unsellable, you know, according to Gasolcast, there's no way that this is going to sell out. Sold out in 36 hours. Now, I think that if this had been available to like worldwide, I absolutely think it would have sold out immediately. But the important thing, there's a couple things that I think are important. First, you had the Fudders who were coming out and celebrating, which is like, what's the point? Like, why are you cheering for the failure or like the lack of success of a company? Why are you so emotionally tied to that? I'll never be able to understand that. But anyways, there were people out there celebrating and saying, ha, ha, ha. Well, within 36 hours, it sold out. And that's a pretty big achievement for this Funko, which is potentially too big for most people and most collectors. And that Funko Gold style that Funko collectors don't like still sold out. Why this is important, though, is I think that Funko is now saying, wow, we took something that hasn't been very popular, and we did this, and it was pretty limited edition with these chases, and we're able to sell that out when the Funko community was saying that probably wasn't possible. So I really think that this is establishing a very firm relationship with Funko. And what I would love to see is more collaborations where maybe there's Marvel Mighties that Funko makes in partnership with Marvel and VeVe, because I would love some of those Marvel Mighties as Funko style type collectibles, and I think that that's absolutely possible for that. So I'm really stoked overall on this, and the fudders or the people who are celebrating and saying like, oh, it only brought, I don't know. I think VeVe Fox has an update on kind of how many new active wallets there were from New York Comic Con, and that there weren't a ton. And there's a couple things with that. Number one, it's still the bear market, and NFTs in general aren't on people's radar anymore. In fact, most people are moving away from NFTs. So the fact that we're still able to get traction amidst that kind of narrative that's occurring in this space is good. Now, is it a ton of additional new members? No, but anyone who understands marketing, it takes a lot of time. I can't remember who was saying it, but it was this perfect statement that just hit me is, look, if marketing worked the first time, you know, Amazon would do one commercial and that's it, right? And they wouldn't ever need to do more. But Amazon is constantly doing commercials. In the Super Bowl, you have all of these different companies that are paying millions and millions and millions of dollars to do their commercial during the Super Bowl, even though they've already done commercials before. Like, why are they doing that? Why? Because you need constant exposure to that. And that's what VeVe is working on, right? By going to these Comic Cons, by going to DCOM, by starting to do these partnerships, that's the exposure that they're starting to get people more comfortable with it and being like, oh, like that comment on the Marvel YouTube video was, hey, if Marvel's okay with NFTs, like maybe they're okay then, even though people have been talking bad about them. Why is Marvel okay with them? And I think that it's going to slowly, and it will be slowly, start changing the mindset of people. So I want to get to some more of these comments here. Yeah, too big. What's up, Mark? Man, I saw your pictures, and didn't one of your pictures get memeified a little bit, like David you had superimposed over that, and then people kind of went wild with that. Super funny. Omi Child got their Funko Iron Man. Hey, Jazz Deep, you're my man. I met Jazz Deep at DCon. Such a rock star. The VeVe community really is second to none, man. I'm so grateful for the people that I've met so far, and I definitely missed New York Comic Con. I'm telling you, there were moments where I was like, do I like try to talk to my wife into just letting me for one night just go out there? No, it wasn't going to happen. I really enjoyed, and I got to post a couple more of those pictures of the Smoky Mountains, guys. And that's what I'll say. There's a life outside of collecting. I love collecting, but it is important that we take time out to really enjoy the real world and all the incredible things that are out there. It gives us more perspective and takes us out of potentially groupthink and help clears the mind. So it didn't sell out. VeVe screwed up the mint numbers. Okay, I do got to talk about that. That is true, and I am bummed on this. I will say this is VeVe. For whatever reason, I don't know if there was a mix-up between Marvel and Funko and VeVe as to how many they were actually going to create, but VeVe minted 3,000 of the common. So this common right here, right, this Iron Man, the gold and red suit, they minted 3,000 of the digital collectibles, but there's only 1,500 physical, and so they're saying that they were burning 1,500 of them. But the other issue with that is that apparently that the digital collectibles that they are burning are going to be randomized. So they could, like, I'm guessing, potentially burn mint number 1, right? Or mint some of the sub 40 mints. And that doesn't make me happy. And on top of that, that also means that if you get the common, that red and gold suit, right, your physical may not match the digital. And that's a big mess up. That's a big mess up. And this is the other thing too, I think that is important is there may be some people who are like, hey, I'm just going to buy this and collect it because I collect Funko, not even open it. So there's potential that the digital side of these things could be much more rare. It'll be interesting to see because you have to open the box, which means that if you're trying to keep the Funko in pristine condition, you're not going to open it. If you don't open it, you don't get the VeVe code. So I do believe that there are going to be some people who just want to keep that without opening it, which will make the digital collectibles even more rare. It is crazy. Yeah, he did say it is. Yeah, Crazy Dan, it is sold out for real this time. Wes doesn't like the Gastrocast videos. I liked them, man. I think they're a funny pair. I guess you got to like that type of humor. I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, SoCal got 2. I got 2 as well. And I'm hooking up some of the VeVe fam overseas who wanted them. So, okay. All right. Don't know what that means, but Funko is another layer for profit and success. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about now, and one. I thought you were talking to me, and I was like, bro, I'm married, but okay. So yeah, it's another layer, right? It's another vertical for them, and it is exciting collaboration, and it's just starting. And so are there going to be bumps along the road? Yes. Should I expect that they shouldn't make the same mistake twice? Yes. So that's what I'm hoping for, is that there is another collab that comes out or that is announced, and that next drop should be much more smooth than this one was. What's up, Pooski? I haven't seen you in a while. Great to see you as well. Family secured 6 Ironmans between us. That's phenomenal. And like I said, look, I think that it was the VeVe fam that are mostly going after this, and that's okay. But if we can get these small doses of exposure over time, over the next several years, but that's the big deal, right? So I'm loving that they are forging these partnerships now in the bear market. That gives us an opportunity before things get too crazy to really collect some of the things we love at these prices. So yeah, that's the other thing. So adding them to the carts and then not purchasing them took them out of stock. There's a lot of things that went on with that, right? And one thing that Wes had set up here, and I think I forgot to share that, Wes. He thinks that it seems like manipulation to me. So Mask on Twitter, who I really enjoy, shout out to Mask, but he had said that this isn't uncommon actually for some of these websites to do this, to kind of create or manufacture FOMO, where to basically say it's sold out, but then it gets pushed back, and then there's additional, and so then people are like, oh, I wasn't going to buy it, but now that it's sold out, like it's people obviously want it, and I want to do that. I don't think that was the case with this one. With just 3,000 out there, I don't think that they were necessarily wanting to do that, but I do think that so many people were adding it to cart, and maybe they didn't purchase it, or they had purchased too much and the manual review kicked them back out. But I think that also, once there was that pushback, some of the people who were thinking of buying, they were like, oh, do I want to buy? Maybe it's not going to sell out. And there's a psychological effect that can happen there too. But sold out in 36 hours. That's about $500,000 for Funko gross sales, right? And for one drop, I think that's a pretty big deal. Of a limited 3,000 edition set, that's pretty awesome. You know, Omi Child, I didn't see that $15 coupon code or the 10% coupon. I missed that. I was in a rush just to make sure that I landed it, and wasn't really wasn't aware of that. So there is no mint number for the physical. Oh, okay. That could be the case. So then it really doesn't matter. There isn't that matching thing. That makes it less of an issue. I still would not like to see low mints get burned just because of an over minting thing. But and the code expiring in 6 months, I'm not a fan of that either. I don't know why. I don't know why they would do that. I don't know what the purpose behind that is, but definitely something to be aware of, right? So, and then Wes, look, when MCP, OUP, VeVeverse, and big exchanges. So let's transition out of this Funko drop. Again, shout out to VeVe and Funko and Marvel for making that happen. And I just think really firming up a solid relationship moving forward. And I'm really excited to see the types of fidgetals that they drop going forward. Now, I'm going to wait and see when I get these. 18 inches might be too big, Wes. And if they are, I probably wouldn't go for another one. I bought this specifically because it is the first fidgetal collaboration that VeVe has. So I think if, again, VeVe becomes, so part of it is speculative, and that if VeVe becomes a big deal, then these could be a big deal in the future. But also, I just kind of want to be part of that experience. So okay, so SoCal Omi Homie says supposedly 2,000 new beta users and bronze tickets by the end of the year. Maybe an eBay partnership, but skipping decon. Yeah, so I'm definitely disappointed that VeVe is skipping decon. That was one of the main reasons that I didn't plan on going to New York Comic Con. Is I had made the mistake of assuming, which you should never assume, that VeVe was going to go to decon because they had the last 2 years. And so I thought that was kind of established as something that they were going to continue to do. When I went to decon, I thought it was a pretty solid event. It brought a lot of the VeVe community together. People got exposed to a lot of the artists that VeVe partner with. So I was a little taken back by that. And now VeVe is going to this, instead of decon, they are going to be going to this crypto event. I think it's Crypto XR. RX, something like that, in France in January, which is great in the fact that they are going to a crypto event. And I think that there's also now showing that, hey, we are also committed to the OMI token and the crypto side of things here. Now, it will be interesting to see, right, if they go to this crypto event, and the fact that those collectibles aren't interoperable, if they get kind of pushback from that and saying, well, are you really crypto? Are you really Web3? And so I'm definitely interested to see how that goes over. And I'm not sure how it will go. I do think that they are kind of a bridge between Web 2 and Web 3 in a lot of ways because of the OMI token, but then that lack of interoperability from the Web3 ethos, right, and that narrative, they definitely don't really fit Web3 right now. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. And I know that that France thing definitely has a lot less people, like attendees overall, but it'll be great for the VeVe fam outside of the US to get some love, even though that, I would have loved to have seen Decon. I'm loving seeing that there's going to be an opportunity for more people outside the US to go to some of these events. So 145 days till having approximately, right? Like we don't know. Do we know the exact date yet? I don't. Has that been calculated? I know that it's supposed to be in like late March or early April. So Cal did the same thing. Wait, you didn't go to Decon? Or did you mean New York Comic Con? Because you assume the same thing. New York Comic Con. So France event has, there you go, 18,000 attendees and 90 booths versus Decon with 100,000 attendees and 900 plus artists and booths. Mass markets won't come from NFTs. Yeah, like they won't. Mass markets, obviously, most people who are into NFTs, like it's still a niche. It's still a nascent space, right? And so to get mass adoption, you're going to need to get people and educate them. And I think that VeVe is slowly doing that with these partnerships and these collaborations. They're reaching out and doing these marketing touch points to people who have never heard of NFTs or think that NFTs are destroying the environment. They have been they're undereducated in this space, that there's a lot of things, especially with ETH converting to a proof of stake. The amount of electricity it costs to run those nodes and things have decreased substantially. So see, Bean Tech, you're in Utah? What? We got to connect. That's crazy. Got a bunch of physical comics at New York Comic Con. Spider-Man Addiction, if I need and want any. I have to shout out some VeVe fam I reached out to that they were able to buy me some of those comics, those physical comics, and ship them out to me. Supposedly they've been delivered. I have not been able to check yet. But we still, Bean Tech, look, I didn't get there's two different versions of the new Spider-Man comic, and I only got one of the versions. So if you have that other version, I'd definitely love to talk with you about potentially purchasing that from you. So anyways, back to Wes's comment right here on when MCP, OUP, VeVeverse, and big exchanges. I am expecting that we should have MCP fourth quarter, and I'll be pretty disappointed if we don't have that by then. And I'd love to hear people's thoughts in the chat to see what their expectation is on when we are able to start using these MCP points. They've been calculating it since March, which is great. And I know that they had some kinks to work out there, right? But I've seen most people who are complaining that they were saying, hey, my MCP points are off. I have not seen a single post recently that says doesn't have that addressed. Basically, those people who posted about that have said, mine has finally been updated, and I think that is correct. So I don't know what they are waiting for, honestly, at this point. So I'm hoping that in the fourth quarter, that's the next big shebang, is that we are starting to be able to use our master collector points and the OMI utility program, the VeVeverse. So that's what SoCal Omi Homie was saying, basically, that 2,000 new beta testers should be there, and bronze tickets by end of year. So bronze tickets, I don't think initially are going to be a big deal. And I kind of talked about that before, like on around the Comiiverse, is if you got to use OMI to purchase the bronze tickets, it is such a hassle to get your OMI over to the app to do that most people just aren't going to do it unless there's some massive incentive, which I'm not aware of really, to do that. So I don't think that is going to be a big deal until we get the ability to purchase layer 2 OMI with a credit card on the web app. But I am expecting at some point VeVe has got to transition. They're getting killed And look, even the VeVe fudders, I will give them credit for this. This is true that 30% hit that VeVe takes when you purchase gems on your phone through the Apple app is that's not sustainable, honestly, right? Because they're getting 70 cents, but then they owe $1 back. And yes, they get some of those transaction fees back where they can recoup some of that, but just long term, they've got to convert that. So I'm expecting at some point that there is a transition from you purchasing app gems on your mobile, well, on the Apple app, to a web version of that. Now, it would make most sense if they can create a mobile friendly web app version. So just like Amazon, I don't use the Amazon app. I actually, on my phone, go to the Amazon web and do it that way. I just like the layout better. I don't like how the app is. So if VeVe can create that so that I can still use my phone to purchase gems, but it's on the web app so that VeVe is getting 100% of those funds, I think that they have to be focusing on that. And I would expect that that's going to be coming out either this quarter or next quarter. I would expect that's got to be a top priority for them, because that's a lot of funds that they're missing out on that would also help with marketing and growth and all of these other things there. So, but that's some of the things that I think are coming in Q4. I wanted, so someone had talked about this, maybe eBay partnership. So Cal Omi Homie, do you want to expand on that? You know, like what do you mean by that? That there's going to be, oh, here we go. The eBay angle will all offers, transfers, and collection sales. I don't understand. What that means. Bean Tech saying got to connect, have the regular and virgin variant. So it's the virgin variant that I don't have. Yeah. Oh man, that would be awesome. Yeah, we got to meet up, man. Look, let's meet up for lunch. I'll buy your lunch. Maybe we can do it that way. So, what's up, Omicron? Omicron, shout out to you. Okay, so let's see. What do we got next here on the agenda? Well, the physical comic collaboration. So, going back to New York Comic Con, I think that this is the other thing that I'm really excited about with VeVe, and the chances of long-term success continue to be solidified through these additional partnerships and these collaborations. So what we saw with the Addiction comic, I'd never heard of the Addiction comic before. That VeVe, just because of VeVe and the power they have with that community, they were able to take a comic. Now, granted, right, one of the guys connected to this comic is very well known in the comic space. He's got like the largest comic book store, I think, in the world, right? Is that, correct me if I'm wrong there. So this guy definitely knows his stuff and he's very well connected. But for VeVe to bring out this comic book and for it to sell out digitally, and then for all of these VeVe fam to go out and buy it, I had people go buy me the physical copies of these, right? It shows the power that VeVe has. And you have to imagine that big IPs are looking at that and saying, if they were on the fence and if they've been sitting on the fence through all of this, as they're looking at what VeVe continues to do, there's just no way in my mind that they don't start leaning and getting off that fence and having those conversations with VeVe, which is substantial. So I love that they were able to do that, and I'm excited to read some of these comics. I have not been able to, if I'm able to get multiples, because right now I want to get some of these graded and have those, but I would love to actually read them, just touch the physical piece. I can read it digitally as well, but I want to touch the physical piece there. So. Yeah. He did, man. Look, Dan said MCP was coming 2021. Mitch said that the VeVeverse would be there at the end of 2022. They have definitely missed timelines, but what we've seen in 2023 is that they have substantially scaled back on actually giving us timelines because of that. There's a lot of unexpected things that happen, and I think that new technologies come out, or things happen behind the scenes that we might not be aware of that then changes everything, and they've got to redo things. And so they can't necessarily predict the future. And so I think that they really have scaled back on saying, hey, here's this timeline, and they're just going to announce it as they go. And I've been pleasantly surprised. It's been great to see a lot of these announcements unexpectedly just come out or just be updated on the app, right? And saying, okay, now I can actually search a user on the app. This is awesome. what we really still need, and I think that this should be a very big priority for VeVe in the app, is being able to make offers to people. That is massive for collectors, right? To be able to match mints. I definitely have been. I've got the gold and silver logo, and I've been trying to match my VeVe mints. I haven't seen any of them. I haven't seen. They're not for sale, so I can't match them. But I'd love to reach out to that person, find out who owns it, and say, hey, can we work something out there? And that's just one example. But I've talked to so many people that would love to do that as well. So I think that is a big thing as part of collecting. Having that tool there would not only make VeVe more money as more transactions would occur, but it's going to really create bigger collectors that are going to start chasing certain mint number sets that they just have not been able to date. So eBay and VeVe co-sponsored Decon last year. Execs were at private parties. I did hear that. eBay exec was at a private party, but I still don't understand what eBay would bring to VeVe. And this is just on the spot, so I'd have to think about that. But like, what would the partnership do? Now, obviously, physical things and being able to sell on like a physical marketplace, that's great. But like, I can do that without eBay. I have to shout out eBay though. So I've been collecting Disney Lorcana cards, and I pulled the Elsa Enchanted. I've never sold on eBay before, and I was kind of a little bit nervous. I'm like, how are people going to know that like what I'm selling is the real deal? And they had this whole like authentication, like this is verified. And basically, I made the sale, I shipped it to an address, and this was like all automated. I was able to pay for the postage on eBay and print it out, and then it was sent. They printed the address. I sent it to an authentication site that then forwarded it on at no additional cost to me, forwarded it on to the buyer. That was phenomenal. So if VeVe could get tied into there, if they're doing more physical collaborations where like, hey, I could do that from the VeVe app that's somehow tied to eBay, I could see something like that. But that would be awesome. Use the site to make offers, sell collections, bundles, transfers, etc. But digitally, is that what you mean, or the physical stuff? Teslas are randomly stopping on the road, and their cars are piling up at dealerships. Plus, Cybertruck still isn't out. Okay, interesting. I have not read about randomly stopping. That is one of the things with a car that's run off software. There are glitches, right? I mean, how many times are laptops, there's like an issue, you got to call support. That is an issue with software, with a car that's run on that software, if there's an issue there. So very interesting. And yet, Justin, Tesla stock still has done pretty substantial over time. Kyle Wilson did a YouTube video about other likely ideas a while back. Tesla stock criminally overvalued. So it looks like there's kind of a side conversation here. Look, I'm gonna protect, not protect. I don't need to protect, but Kyle does not hate VeVe. He doesn't hate VeVe, but I think that he has not been happy with some of the things that VeVe has done, and I think that Paul Barron maybe also has a negative influence on him. But like, Kyle freaking created the Red O, right? Like, this guy's still an OG. I still talk to the guy, and I called him out. I thought that video that he and Paul did rating Quid over VeVe, you know, I've recently said that. I mean, he and I were kind of debating about things on Omi or VeVe YouTubers shilling Omi at all-time highs and saying to buy and to continue to buy as it went down and down, and now that's wrecked people. And I said, look, you can make the same argument that Paul Barron, when he did his video and saying VeVe was dead, Omi token was at like almost all-time low, and did people sell there? And then Omi has pumped since and it's gone higher. Did those people get wrecked too? Like, I don't know, man. You can make all these arguments, but at the end of the day, I still feel like Kyle keeps tabs on VeVe and he cares about VeVe. He definitely felt attacked by a lot of the community who were very upset about that video, and I can understand why they were upset, because to me, I felt like it was not. It felt like there's an agenda there, and that it was not a truly logical analysis of things as it stood. So, but anyways, that's enough with Kyle. Like I appreciate Kyle, and I appreciate people in this space who are trying to educate people, not just on VeVe, but look at overall things. And that's one of the things with my channel. I do talk mostly about VeVe, but I do talk about other tokens. I am heavily invested in a lot of other projects that not just NFTs, right? But that are like layer ones, layer twos, and layer zeros. And well, layer zeros, I mean, that's the name of but layer zero is a community. But anyways, gaming tokens. There's a lot out there, and I just appreciate the people who are tied to VeVe, so that as the VeVe community is learning more about crypto and Web3, they have some people that are trying their best to do the education. So that's my thing on that. Yeah, eBay with digitally with their NFT portal. That will be interesting to see. Now, if eBay can combine with other NFT projects and create a bigger ecosystem there, that could be exciting. Yeah, there you go. He does still like VeVe. All right. Okay, let's see. Regarding offers for VeVe, NBA Top Shot has something called edition offers. For a collectible, you can make an offer to any mint number, so sellers get instant liquidity. That's what I'm talking about. The other thing is, right, is, for example, I might hold some mint number of someone who's looking for my mint number, and I have no idea. And I don't necessarily have the intent to sell it. I haven't listed it, but if someone would reach out to me and be like, hey, like, I really want that mint number, and we could work out a deal and be like, all right, yeah, like maybe I would sell that, or maybe it's someone I know. And so like, I'd be way more willing to sell it. And then I can just buy another one on the market because I didn't necessarily care about that mint. So I think it is a really big deal for that to happen, guys. Yeah, accept highest edition offer. Man, edition offers are usually about 30% under lowest ask prices. Interesting. Oh, wait a second. So hold on. Okay, you can to any mint number. Is this kind of like OpenSea where you can just say for the entire collection, I'm willing to pay this price, and someone can say, I'll sell it to you for that? Maybe that's what you're talking about. Maybe I missed that. So, um, yeah, look, this is something Illuvium's done a lot of great things, and I think that Illuvium has substantial potential. I'm excited about Illuvium, and like I said, SoCal, I've got to look into it more and see what they're doing. But the marketplace with offers is a big deal. So, okay, so yeah, I had misspoken, or I misunderstood originally. You can make offers to specify mint numbers. Okay, but then you can specify mint numbers or just offers in general for an entire collection. So let's see. Oh, let's talk about Omi a little bit. So some of you guys may have seen me on Around the Komiverse, where I made this crazy prediction where they said, hey, where could you see the Omi token in 2025? And I said, I could see it at $3 to $5. And people freaked out. And I think rightfully so. And because I need to provide a little bit more context. And I did this again on the next Around the Komiverse, but there is a difference between is something possible and is something probable. Is $3 to $5 probable? Absolutely not. Let me just make that very clear. So I think that that's where people misunderstood it as like I was assuming that more than likely Omi token was going to be $3 to $5 in 2025, and like that's not the case at all. And Danny DeBull had a video the other day where he talked about Omi, and he gave his kind of bearish case and a more bullish case, and he brought up some good points. And I think I try to talk about this, and I don't think that I did a good enough job when it's a panel of people, and I'm trying to provide just like my few like insight in a short amount of time, and I don't get to really address everything. But that's why I wanted to talk about it here a little bit more. So he had talked about like there's a chance that Omi doesn't go back to its all-time high because other altcoins, if you look historically, very few, once they've had their first pump, don't ever go back to their all-time high. I will say, as a financial analyst, that we have very minimal historical data to say that that is a pattern. And there's a lot of nuance to what was happening in previous cycles as well that we got to take into consideration. So for me, I think that it is highly probable that VeVe or that the OMI token in 2025 or during the next bull run will surpass its all-time high. And there's a couple reasons for this. When Danny the Bull talked about these tokens that were, top 10, top 20, top 100 tokens or had billion-dollar market caps and that they were no longer around, a lot of them never even had a use case. A lot of it was speculation. There was the ICO, right? The initial coin offerings that were happening like 2017, that was like crazy. And there's all the speculation. These tokens went crazy high and they didn't really build anything. They weren't making money. And so once those funds ran out, Recur is a perfect example of this. Imagine Recur had a token, right? And so they have this token and they have all these partnerships. They've raised all of this money, but they don't handle it well. They misspend. They pay way too much for their partnerships, and then they go under, and that token goes under. I'll bet you the Recur token initially probably would have had a massive market cap, but then it goes out of business. So I look at a lot of these examples that Danny DeBull went over, these tokens, he's like, we never heard of them again. It's like, right, because they actually never built the business. Like their use case or what they were trying to build, they never actually built. Or even if they built it, they didn't have enough fundamentals to have the income to continue building and make it through bear markets and things. And that's where I think that VeVe is doing quite well in the bear market. And they are building out use cases for this token. So I think that for me, it is highly probable that in the next bull run, VeVe does surpass it. But I think it's very important, and Danny Bull talked about this, and I talk about this a lot, is that diversification. I think it is important that we do take into consideration or think there is a chance that it doesn't. The way that I say that is there's a chance that OMI goes to zero, that all of my crypto goes to zero. It could happen. And that's the mindset that we have to have in this, because we've seen so many tokens that had billion-dollar market caps that are no longer existent. Like it happens all the time. So that's the way that I approach that. But when I'm looking at VeVe and OMI and that use case, the burns, so there are the burns, but then there's also the staking mechanisms that are going to take things out. So when I look at the potential burns that could happen, the staking that could happen, and the use cases that could be built out on top of exchanges, I do think that we're going to see exchanges out there and bigger exchanges at some point. Now, everyone talks about the fact that, VeVe's got to make these deals, or that, VeVe won't, or Coinbase wouldn't accept VeVe or a Comey because they're worried about regulatory things. These companies can do rogue listings, and all they do is they basically purchase a ton of the token so that they have it, and they just list the token because they want the trading fees on that. I mean, that happens all the time. So VeVe doesn't necessarily have to go to these and make it. Now they can pay a fee and they can get in line and they can still get it listed, right? And then they've got to provide there's terms and things that they've got to provide liquidity and the token there for these exchanges to do that. But I do believe that these exchanges are coming. And so when I take all of that into consideration, where you're going to have burns, you're going to have OMI to NFT, you're going to have MCP, right? Like the ability to actually use points, like, and land is a narrative we'll see how that plays out. But there's a lot of things that VeVe can do where they can sell things only in OMI. Like there's so many different use cases that are still are yet to come. When you have the Bitcoin halving, you have a Bitcoin spot ETF that is going to get approved. This is just my opinion, but let me tell you about this. A judge basically told the SEC, the reason you denied the Bitcoin spot ETF is not applicable because you've already approved a Bitcoin futures ETF, and they are establishing the same protocols and protections with this spot Bitcoin ETF as the futures Bitcoin ETF. So you have to basically, they're like, you have to rethink this, right? And they've delayed it, but in my opinion, I don't think that there's a way out of that box now. I think that the SEC is going to be bound to approve this. They could deny it, and then it'll go to court, and the judge could then basically say, like, you are now required to approve this, basically. I just don't think that there's a way out for the SEC anymore for this. And so you get that Bitcoin spot ETF, and that is so massive for Bitcoin. And the reason that that is so important is because historically, and again, this is an assumption, but historically, when Bitcoin pumps, people then take the profits from that, and then it funnels down into the rest of the space. So then it's going to depend on narratives. And that's where I think that OMI has a lot of different opportunities to fit a narrative to also hit a pump. And that those narratives can be AR and VR, because we have the Apple Vision Pro coming out. I don't think that people realize it is very pricey, but I don't think that people really understand what is coming. And I think that VeVe with their AR collectibles, like already the app is already there in this VeVe-verse. I think that they are absolutely set to hit that narrative if it occurs. Then there's the gaming narrative that could happen, and I think will happen in the next bull run. And so I have a lot of different gaming tokens that I'm invested in. But I think that there is a chance that they could partner with Marvel and do some sort of gaming with the Marvel Mighties. So, and again, like, we'll see how, if it's token gated or how that would work, but there's that potential for that. And then on top of that, you have the metaverse that could still be a thing, and that is tied to the AR VR stuff. So there's a lot of different narratives, and narratives are very important in crypto that VeVe could hit. So when I said $3 to $5, it would have to hit all of these crazy narratives, and it would have to basically catch meme coin status, where people, it gets listed and it just keeps going up, and people are freaking out, and everyone and their dog is talking about it. So is it possible? Yes. Is it highly probable? No. Is it even probable? No. So I love Danny DeBoll's position to say, like, he doesn't like talking about that, because then he feels like there are going to be certain people who try to hold out for that. And if it doesn't hit that, then they continue to hold as it goes back down, and they get wrecked. So I love that point. I just had to kind of clarify my position on that. But I have also talked about the fact that as I hold any token, that you have to get emotionally detached from that. And the way to do that is to create a plan where you're saying, I have these tokens, and when it hits this price point, I'm going to sell X amount or X percent of my token. And then when it hits this price point, I'm going to sell X percent of my token. If you dollar cost average out, then you can hold a moon bag. And that's my plan, right? I'm going to sell my OMI. If Omer were, let's hypothetically say OMI were to hit $3 to $5, I would have sold out of a significant amount of my position of OMI well before then. I will have a moon bag, right, of maybe 10% or 15% of the remaining tokens, where I just say these either go to zero or they go to the moon. And that's where I'm kind of looking at that. So I just wanted to talk about that. But right now, and here, let's pull up the price chart here real quick. Let me move this up and share the screen. Here we go. All right. So before I get into this, let's see some of these comments here. The space Wendy held last night was epic. Everyone should listen to that entire stream. Wendy held a space. You have to tell me more about that. I don't know. Look, Wes, we can talk offline, man. Like, I've said my piece about Kyle. I've talked to him personally. He does not hate VeVe. Well, there you go. Last video yesterday was very complimentary, VeVe. Yeah, look, crypto recently, like, the SEC has been very bearish, and the government in general, governments in general are very cautious about money. And Bitcoin hit this narrative of, like, could it take over as kind of this global money? And I understand where countries are coming from, where they're saying, hey, we are trying to, with the Federal Reserve, basically they're trying to control interest rates, and well, their mandate is to control inflation. And if they don't control the money supply or have an impact on money supply, it becomes very difficult for them to do that. And so I can understand where they get this. And then there's this whole narrative of like, the bad actors are all in crypto, and everything is the dark web and things. And it's such a laughable argument, because law enforcement has proven through arrests and everything that the blockchain is actually very transparent. It's a very terrible way to try to fund crime and terrorism, especially with the volatility. But it has been held back for quite some time. But I think with the accounting pronouncement that the Financial Accounting Standards Board has done, with now that basically Bitcoin will be on balance sheets of companies, can be held at fair market value, I think that is a very big deal. The SEC, I do believe that a spot Bitcoin ETF, it will be approved, and the latest, right? So they have to make a determination by March. So like it's coming by March. I think it'll probably come before then, though. It could come late this year, but or January or February. I don't think that they will wait all the way till March, but I could be wrong with that. So imagine not seeing how dead VeVe is. Yeah, I guess I don't see it, man. I don't see how VeVe is dead. OMI to 0003 by February. I did not see that. A 40K bounty for the #1 gold black Funko Iron Man. There's only 50 of those, and we got to think that there may be some people who get the gold and black and they don't open that box, so that would be crazy. The amount of money entered in space alone will push OMI to 0077. Don't display stupidity here. I can't confirm it. Like, look, I don't have a magic crystal ball, right? I just look at you do have to look at historically at what's happened, and then I say what's coming down the pike, and all of the potential money that could be coming with the Bitcoin halving and everything. Historically, within 18 months of Bitcoin halving, we have a Bitcoin all-time high, and a lot of money flows into the space. And what we've never seen before is institutional money really come into this space, and I think that is massive for it. So yeah, look, these are some of the arguments, right? Burns exchanges, adoption, acceptance of digital collectibles, MCP, OMI only drops, VeVeverse, perhaps a casting option for collectibles to frame. There's a lot of things that they can do to burn OMI. Now, like, I think that I don't know how substantial the OMI burns will be. It'll be interesting to see, but I think that the staking will have a bigger impact than people are giving or taking into. They're not really taking into consideration the staking. And like when people talk about market caps and they're like, oh, like, a $10 billion, a $15 billion market cap, like what that actually means. I'll just say that crypto is so crazy and it's illogical. And so there are things that happen that you're just like, there's no way that this should be at this price, and yet it happens. So just be aware of that. But again, if you're dollar cost averaging out and you have a plan beforehand, don't wait for these crazy price predictions to hit before you're selling your tokens, right? You come up with a plan that's good for yourself, where you feel like, hey, if I can sell this, I feel comfortable with this. When it hits that, don't get too greedy. You've made your plan, stick to that plan. That's all I'm saying. Still 9 months out. Well, if it's 9 months out, homie, like SoCal, typically, like I said, 18 months from the Bitcoin halving, if that's in March. So 9 months from now, like, what does that put us at? June, July-ish area? Like, so that's still well before a potential all-time high of Bitcoin. So OMI still has substantial potential, and to catch a narrative, right? Like, that's a big deal. What's up, Blaze? Good to see ya. See, and I love these discussions. This is part of why I like doing these live videos, right? Is the comments where we can talk about this and I can give you my thoughts. Altcoin rally following halving 18 months. We should be partway there by then, 2 years from now. I can't say what I know. I'll be in prison. Huh. Let's just say there's a big reason why we're not on big exchanges. It will never be. You'll find out soon enough. OMI will not exist soon. Agree to disagree on that, guy. Yep, and maybe you know something I don't, and that's the risk, right? And I'll say this: look, if Omi were to go to zero tomorrow, I am fine. I am very well diversified, and I preach to people that they should also diversify their tokens. When I talked to Jordan, right, when he was talking about how many like the Omi that he had, he was all in Omi. I was like, bro, let's just play out the scenario. What happens if Omi goes to zero? You have to play out that scenario. You have to play out all scenarios in your mind. Do I think that that is possible? It is possible. Do I think that it's probable? I don't think it's probable. Maybe Guy knows something I don't, and I guess apparently he'll be in jail. Like I don't know, but I just disagree with that. So, but maybe he knows something I don't. But I'm comfortable if Omi goes to zero, I'll be okay. And everyone who's in Omi right now or any crypto right now, I think that that should be the mentality: is that you are putting in money that you could afford to lose because it could all go to zero. 15K for any black and gold and 40K for the number one. That is wild. That is wild. We should have sports, music, fashion. 100 drops a week. 100 drops a week. We're gonna need some massive adoption for that to happen. I mean, 100 drops a week, but I think that the cadence that they have now, they're still selling out some of the drops, and I'm still loving collecting a lot of these first appearances of things. I think that that is such an excellent opportunity, just historically. If we look at some of the things in the crypto space that have done very well over time, even though it's a nascent space, it's the ones that are like historical. And they can do these pumps and then they can come back, right? Like Ether Rocks were selling for like $1 million. I don't know what they're at now, but they didn't cost much at the beginning and they're still up substantially. And again, over time, some of these very early NFTs, I think that people look back on that and that will be a social flex. I do think that we are transitioning to a more digital economy and a digital collecting space. Like I think so much is going to be moving digitally because we have a finite amount of space, people, right? Like, and that's a problem with collectors. David, like, he has like a warehouse, right? But at some point, that warehouse gets filled up, and if he wants to collect more physicals, he's got to buy another warehouse, and that becomes a pain. But digitally, it's like, bam, it's all on my phone. And so, and when you combine that with AR and VR and the ability to go into these metaverses, I do think that there will be social ecosystems digitally, right? Where people just are all digitally in a metaverse. Their channels are there, their avatars are there, and their collectibles are there, and it will be another social flex there. I think that that's where that's headed. And so, first appearances of things, if we're judging historically on physical products, should do well. Do I think that all VeVe collectibles are going to do well? No. I think that a lot of these VeVe collectibles will just be worth what the people want because they want them, and they won't be worth much, and that's okay. So for me, one of my focuses is on FAs of major characters, and even new characters that are FAs. I talked to Comics Crypto when they came on the podcast, right? And I was asking them like, what are some of the newer superheroes that you think are taking hold, like the Miles Morales, right? America Chavez, some of these characters that the younger generations are going to go up, and as they get into their jobs and higher paying jobs, they're going to want to collect. Those are the things that I'm also focusing on. I'm excited to get my Funkos delivered too, man. Now that there's that bounty on these black and gold, man, that's wild. That is wild. Look, yeah, I unfortunately I can just never take anyone serious who just says I have top secret information. Like, why are you one person that says that they have top secret information that like no one else apparently does? Like I don't know. That just seems weird to me. It's an anomaly. So I have to. That to me is just static noise. Like I just can't pay attention to it. So yeah, there we go. 45K. So this is exciting, right? This is another thing where like, so you have this massive collector. This is his company, and he's like, I want the number one collectible. Now, the question is, does he also want the number one digital collectible, or is it just the physical? Yeah, maybe you can bargain for that. Who knows? That would be funny, Philip. That would be amazing. Okay, so you know what? I had this chart up this whole time. I haven't even talked about it. Shoot, sorry guys. So let's go over this. 24-hour time frame, not looking good, right? And this is just coin market cap. Market cap is 240 million. Let's see if we can get the volume here. Trading volume 670K. That's not bad, but I want to address one of the things that people are concerned about, and I think rightfully so with the OMI token, is the fact that there are a small number of individuals who have a very high percentage of the token. And they're like, hey, they could just dump on people and that could wreck people or that could stifle the token. And I will say yes and no. I think that the majority of people who hold the large amounts of tokens are not there to just dump on people. Like they're waiting for the token to and the volume to get there, right? Because that also hurts their bags if they sell a large portion and then that drops the token. Well, they still have a significant amount that they are trying to sell, and now they've just impacted the price negatively. They're going to be waiting for a higher volume amount. And if we can get on these major exchanges, some of these tokens, right, they have $50 million, $100 million of daily trading volume. So when you get to that amount, right, $100 million or $50 million a day in trading, that's going to start eating up through those sell walls that some of these individuals may have. And again, I don't think that they're going to be selling. And this is an assumption I'm making, and I have to clarify with that. Like there is that potential. There is a risk there. And that's why I want to talk about it. But at the same time, you've got to think logically through it and saying, does this impact their own bags if they do that? And the answer to that is yes. So why would they? Now there's an assumption that at least one individual may have been doing that to manipulate the price because they want to play with that, and they can do that, but it becomes very difficult when a token is on multiple exchanges for them to be able to manipulate the price like that, even if they hold a substantial bag, because of that daily trading volume just eats up right through it. So would I sell it to him? Look, if I had the number one black and gold, I would sell it to David Yoon. I would. But I would be like, I want to just have a 30-minute conversation with you as well. And that would be the price or something. And I'd just pick his brain on something. Now I have the gold and silver logo, so I should potentially not get 30 minutes per se, but I should get some time with him. But I would do that just because I'm grateful. I'm grateful for him creating this. And so that would be something. And like $45,000 is nothing to block it. Do you know how many digital collectibles I'd be able to buy with that, and how much OMI? So yeah, I would sell it to him. But if I just got the black and gold, we'd have to see. I don't think that that's going to happen, but we'll see. 2,500 people holding 71% of the supply. Yeah, like it is an issue there, SoCal. So hopefully I've addressed that and my thoughts on it. What up, Bill Gardner? It's great to see you, man. Look, I just have to shout out a lot of these people that I see just constantly, like on my stream or other people's streams. Just appreciate the VeVe fam and the support that you guys constantly give. So thank you for that. And I haven't said this in a while, but if I would love it if you could smash, push, crush, or even gently caress the like, subscribe, and all notifications button. YouTube obviously has an algorithm that the more likes you get compared to the subscribers that you get and the views and things, it then pushes out your channel to be visible to other people, because it's not necessarily visible to all the people who even may be searching out VeVe, right? They type in VeVe and maybe my videos are coming 50th in line. But the more subscribers I have, obviously that gets pushed up and hopefully more eyes are on that. So let's see. I just wanted to talk about this a little bit when I talked about the OMI token and the potential here, right? So July 31st, you had 00064, right? And then there was kind of like these little pumps in August here. And then this big pump here to over, like where it broke the 001 plane was when they announced staking. And there was a ton of people that actually purchased the token. I say staking, it's not staking. It's truly just holding the token in your wallet and you're getting master collector points for doing so. and that created a pump. But what it also did, though, is it also created a much higher low, right? If you're looking at this, I mean, doubles 00089 from 0006, right? That's almost a 50% increase from low to new low. So that I just think that as you get more utility for this token, there are reasons for people to actually hold it and to use it. I think that that is going to bring up the value of this token, and there will be a purpose behind that. And then you combine that with all of the other catalysts that we've talked about, and that's where I think that it is more than likely going to break its previous all-time high. I think that that is a very, I can't say safe assumption because nothing is safe in crypto, but for me, I believe it's highly probable, and so that's how I'm acting accordingly with that, with the purchases I'm doing. So, all right, well, we can kind of wrap this up here. I just want to go through some of these comments. I'm going to say that Luna, that is not a solid comparison, man. Like Luna from the get-go was basically a Ponzi scheme, the way that the tokenomics were structured. And there were people early on who identified that and called that out back in I believe it was November of 2021. There was a tweet where they basically said, you could wreck, like, the tokenomics, it's a Ponzi scheme, and if you did it this way, you could destroy the token. And what's his name was like, oh yeah, go ahead, like I dare you. And then it happened in March or April of 2022. So not a good comparison. OMI is not, the tokenomics are not a Ponzi scheme where like people have to continue to purchase a token for it to be viable. That's not how it works. So Guy, look, I appreciate, I welcome all points of view. And so I don't know why you would believe that it would go to 002 if you think that it's not going to even exist in a few months or something, why you'd even get to that. But look, we can agree to disagree. You haven't really provided any support for it, and that's what I look for. I'm open to all arguments, but they have to be supportable, and what you provided is just not supportable. So some of the people here, and like, can I just say something too? Let's just make sure whenever we're disagreeing, I want to touch on something kind of personal, right? Like, I tweeted out something that happened to my sister recently. I'm gonna try not to get emotional, man. It was very impactful, and part of what triggered her actions were how she was treated online. So anytime that we're disagreeing with someone about a point, let us please be cautious, not attacking the individual, but attacking the argument. If we can all just be a little bit more civil, because there are real human beings behind these avatars and these screens. I can disagree with Guy, but let's just, again, just make sure that we're civil on things and make sure that we attack the argument. And my attacking of the argument is, you haven't provided the support. You're saying that there's some information that you have that none of us have. Well, until we can get that information, we can't make a decision on that. That's just not enough to go off of. So look, and I appreciate that, Guy. Like, I appreciate, and I try to, I don't want people to get wrecked either. And I provide this point of view, and I provide these insights and saying, hey, here's what I think is going to happen. But it could all go to zero. And I think that I try to make that as clear as possible whenever I talk about anything. And I also say that this isn't financial advice. These are my assumptions on things and how I am accumulating. I am still buying the OMI token at these prices. I do think that it has a substantial chance of going much higher than its previous all-time high of like 1.3, 1.4 cents. So let's see. Okay. Yeah. Look, and as long as we all know the risk, like, I appreciate the comments on that. So with that, guys, I just want to, with my final thoughts here, I am so excited that VeVe continues to crush it with these collaborations, and they continue to show any IP that may be sitting on the fence the power of VeVe and the power of this community and what it can do. And I really think that there's substantial potential of some of these IPs that worked with Recur that they have already moved over to VeVe in our discussions. There's no confirmation on this. This is just my high speculation, but it would just make sense to me that they were like, here we went with Recur. They went under, they failed, they've mismanaged things, and now like VeVe continues to make new partnerships and create new verticals, and these are selling out, and they continue to be successful, and their community is strong. And they're saying, how can we rebuild our image in this new digital collecting space? Why don't we hitch our wagon to VeVe's? I really see that as a very strong potential there. So, and look, even if VeVe didn't go to its all-time previous high of 1.2 cents, 1.3 cents, if it's at 0009 right now, and then it got up to 1 cent, like what is that, right? Like that's a little over a 10x. In real terms, when I look at like the stock market, when I traded on the stock market and things, your annual return if on a 401k of 12%, right, was phenomenal. Like that was incredible. Like you were doing well. You were outperforming the market at 12% increase annually. So when we talk about like a 10x, that is still phenomenal. And on top of that, we get to enjoy the VeVe community. We get to enjoy these VeVe collectibles. So I'm all for OMI and VeVe right now. I am bullish long term on it. But I will say too, though, right? I try to be as pragmatic and as logical as possible. And so I do appreciate Danny DeBoll's insights as he's doing this analysis and really talking about market caps and where that could go. So if you haven't watched this video, I definitely highly recommend that you do watch this video and get another perspective on that. But I think that as long as you are taking out the emotion from it and you're looking at the projects that have a strong use case, there's a reason for it, they're solving a problem, which I think digital collecting solves that physical collecting space issue. I think that the technology, the way it's going with AR and VR, that they are tied to that, and people will really enjoy looking at these collectibles with this new technology. So, and the team itself, the experience that they have, what they've been doing, I think that the chances are highly probable again that VeVe could be successful long term. So that's what I'm doing with my money, and I think that the token they are working on that, and these use cases as they come out, especially if they are able to come out or build upon what I believe will be a bull run with Bitcoin halving and these spot Bitcoin ETFs and things. There's just a strong use case for how that money then flows into alts like OMI. So with that, I just appreciate everyone for joining me as always. And if you haven't followed me on Twitter, I'm Doctor of Stuff. And if you guys, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. If VeVe were to do a partnership with Funko and Marvel again, but they were to be the Marvel Mighties, would that be something that you guys would be interested in going for? I'd love to hear that in the comments. So thanks so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your evening.